Hey guys, welcome back to another, well, deck tech, I suppose, for Premodern. My name is Modern Magic Emporium, and today we are looking at the deck I played in the second weekly of February for the Magic Online Society. This is a Mana Flare deck, a kill of Brain Freeze, and we ended up going 3-2. More like 2-2-1, but an opponent conceded to us one round. When it was pretty clear that I was going to overcome the hoop, but I lost to timer. In any case, anytime I can get a brew over 50-50, I feel pretty good about it. So we're going to go over briefly the deck and the matchups. This deck is based around Mana Flare, which lets you reduce an extra mana for each mana tapped for each player can do that, into Early Harvests, which untaps all lands of a target player, and doing various card draws, Intuition, Fact or Fiction, Nostalgic Dreams, etc., to cycle through things, do it enough, and then we brain freeze people for them apart. Now, going through the list, basically starting from sorceries on over. Lands, we'll start there actually. Very simple. No non-basics. Wasteland doesn't hurt us for the most part. Not a lot of the LD hurts us. It's great. The only thought I could have is maybe an additional mountain, because it really sucks to get ported and you can't get out of it as quickly, but that's the biggest thing. No big deal. 4 wooded foothills to make sure we can get our mountain and thin the deck a little bit. So moving on to the enchantments. 4 mana flare, pretty simple. We want a 4 of so we can reach that as soon as possible. On to our sorceries. Pretty simple. Rampant growth and nature's lore both encourage us to push out quicker, try and keep pace with a lot of the aggro decks. This deck does not combo off typically until it can go off turn 4. If you go like rampant on turn 2, turn 3, Mana Flare, and maybe another rampant, and then go off with Fact or Fiction. Turn 4 is usually your quickest, more like turn 5 or later. But that is okay. It's slow for a combo deck, but that's okay. A big basis of our deck is this Nostalgic Dreams. This is something we use to recur. With this, having 1 early harvest is usually enough. You don't need multiple copies. It's overkill. This lets you recycle, say you get some lands into your hand or things you don't need right away to early harvest, etc., and continue on the cycle. It's a very important part, is the integral engine of the deck. The 1 Gaia's Blessing. This was 2, but it's down to 1. This is for that random storm matchup or altar matchup in which they're trying to mill you in many ways. It works a lot of times when they're not expecting it. Game 2 gets different because a lot of times they can bring in an answer to it. And an answer to it might be just to have another blessing in the sideboard to bring in. For a while I was running 2 or 3 because it was just hard to get through. But it's usually good for a game 1 win until you can kind of keep going with other things in the matchup. Moving on to our instants. Brain Freeze is of course our kill. It's a storm card, mills 3. Go ahead and mill your opponent. Cunning Wish, we do have a wish board, which we'll kind of go over in a little bit. We have 4 early harvests. Now, a consideration could be made to put an early harvest in the sideboard. I like that for the wish. However, as I mentioned before, typically 1 early harvest with the dreams is enough. So I find instead of trying to wish for 3, then early harvest for another 1, that I just want to have the opportunity to draw them naturally, and it usually happens. After that, Fact or Fiction. Everyone's seen Fact or Fiction. A lot of times late game when you already have a dreams, you're going to take your bigger pile no matter what. An interesting fun note about Fact or Fiction is if you fact and you get blessings and you choose a pile that blessings not in, when that goes to the graveyard, it counts as blessings going to your graveyard from your library, and you can actually get the blessings effect of shuffling up into it. So that's a pretty cool thing. Intuition. This is a key piece, so you can go get end of turn 3 or something, go get 4 mana flares to be able to go off. You can get 3 nostalgic dreams. Make sure you get one and keep going. pretty simple. Meditate, very, very powerful spell. Typically, you're not going to cast this until you're going off, but the rate at which you get with the 4 cards, rarely do you ever not hit something when you're in the position to use it. It is a dud when you're dying and you need something, but rarely is the problem, and I find myself wanting 2 more than 1 or 1 and split in the board. Moment's Peace. This is essential for the aggro matchup in a lot of ways. Goblins, humans, etc. Anything like that. This is essentially, if it's early enough, it's essentially a time walk on them for multiple turns. That's what really gives this deck a chance against aggro decks in the format to be going off turn 5. Now, against Sly, much harder because they have burn. This does not prevent anything outside of combat damage. It could be worthwhile trying to mulligan into it, so I'm not sure. I think you're better off just playing the best you can and hopefully relying on your sideboard. Sprouting Vines, an interesting one. It fixes your mana, it can find your sources, but the Storm is important. If you're in the middle of going off, but you're running low for Nostalgic Dreams, if you Sprouting Vines before and get a bunch of land, it creates the fodder. This was an awesome suggestion I got from the Premodern Discord. Search up Premodern Discord, you'll find it. It's a great place, all sorts of stuff. Essential to refilling a hand, cycling through with Nostalgic Dreams is a great option. Same can be said for Words of Wisdom. Words of Wisdom, you draw 2 cards, each other player draws a card. It's an awesome thing to be able to do that. Excuse me. Be able to do that and then keep going on at a cheap cost with a tap of 1 mana, essentially with Flare Out. An interesting thing to note on this is I've definitely gone... There is an opportunity to go off in some cases on an end step or during your opponent's turn, because most of this is instants outside of here. It sucks not to be able to dream as an instant, but most of your kill is instant. And if you have enough mana, you're patient, you can catch them off guard on an end step or something and try and go off. And Word of Wisdom is great, and just in general, by if you brain freeze them, say on their, like when they're in the middle of doing something, they have no more cards, but they can still kill you that turn. If you have a Word of Wisdom, you can force them to draw and lose. So, really fun card, really efficient card. Onto our sideboard. Our sideboard is an additional Brain Freeze. Sometimes you can just Cunning Wish to get it, or Brain Freeze once, Cunning Wish, go get another Brain Freeze. Pretty simple, pretty standard. Chill is there for the red matchups. Red-based aggro, burn is hard. We lost to Sly. Can't really get around it. And this is probably one of your best options to do it. So it's either there. In that case, a lot of times when I'm sideboarding, I'm only taking out one thing, like maybe I'd take out a Blessing if it's not needed in the matchup, and 1 Rampant Growth, or like 1 Early Harvest or something like that, to keep your options open. And sideboarding some of that stuff actually helps your sideboarding plan. 2 Hunting Pack. This is for the matchups where you can't target your opponent. Doesn't come up often, but there's times where decking them isn't going to work if you know they have a Blessing or something. Sometimes making a million 4/4s is the way to go. Got a Lightning Bolt. That is for any problematic creatures, like a Meddling Mage. Cunning Wishing into a Lightning Bolt for Meddling Mage is nice. Or Cunning Wishing to kill their Sharpshooter. Not their Sharpshooter, really, but like a Siege Gang Commander or something like that. Mana Short, you can cycle into that against like Frantic Storm if you need to, for the Cunning Wish, Control, etc. An additional Moment's Peace. Sometimes you side that in, sometimes you not. I'm a fan of siding it in and being more aggressively mulliganing when I need it, because the time to Cunning Wish into that sometimes isn't there. Null Rod. This is for Tormod script for the most part. It's an annoying card, especially since we hit on Nostalgic Dream. It has other things like, you know, if you play some mono brown or you know, other things like that, but it's specifically more there for Tormod's Crypt, in addition to Naturalize. Sprouting Vines, again, is a way to fill your hand, and Stroke of Genius, again, is a way to fill your hand if need be, and also maybe to stroke out your opponent on the end step or something like that. So that's the deck. Again, we went 3-2 or 2-2-1. Those matches will be uploaded to the video. Strong against mid-range. Strong, honestly, against control in a lot of ways. Combo is the combo matchup. It's Dead Guy Ale, which if you don't know that, it's, you know, hippie, turn 1 hippies through ritual, verdicts, you know, lots of disruption. That was a problem. And Sly. Sly can just get you down far enough before you can even Moment's Peace. And then once you even have a Moment's Peace, it's okay, then they Fire Blast you, or they, you know, bolt you, etc. It's rough. So guys, that's the deck tech. It can probably be tuned more. Better wish targets, different wish targets, but it's an overall fun deck. So guys, go ahead, like, share, and subscribe to the video. Make sure if you're interested in the pre-modern format, go ahead and Google pre-modern Discord. You'll find it there. And then go ahead and Google the Magic Online Society. Great events, great times. This has been Modern Magic Emporium again, the Deck Tech. Signing off right now, and we'll catch you later. Take care.